Hey, Tumbleweed here. Good guy with a black hat. Good to see you today. We're going to tackle a controversial subject in the next couple of videos. The education dilemma. It's quite an impact on our country. Uh, could be said that it's a minefield, depending on which side of the political spectrum you might be. But I think most people agree it's a system that struggles. It's arguably the foundation of our nation that we've built by educating our youth generation by generation. Nobel Prize winning Irish poet William Butler Yeats defined education. He said, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Would that were the case. Bear with me as I tackle in 3 videos what could fill 10. Tumbleweed notes that insanity is often defined as doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that the U.S. public education system, as currently manifest, is pretty much total insanity. It fails us miserably. That's not to say that there aren't some great dedicated teachers and loving concerned parents. It's just that the system has let them down, big time. So let's briefly examine a bit of education history. A fellow named John Dewey is generally regarded as the father of modern public education. To put modern in context, Dewey lived 100 years ago. Yet Dewey is adored even today, mostly by liberal progressives. However, critics blame him for the decline of American education. Dewey believed that our democracy must be transformed first by a revolution in education, followed by a social and economic revolution. His idea was to indoctrinate through education to create a more pliable populace for the transformation. Little wonder that he was highly regarded by and sympathetic to Marxism. Like the Bolsheviks, Dewey sought the elimination of religion from the public square, especially the schools. While he was a communist sympathizer for many years, he eventually recanted, though Marxist influence pervaded his life work and the evolution of U.S. public education. We can't ignore U.S. education history without mentioning U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. When she was an attorney with the U.S. Civil Service Commission, she expounded regularly on building a massive system of child care in the nation, such that wives and mothers would be free to join the workforce. In a huge way, the public education system has served that need. So what is this education dilemma? Well, Tumbleweed contends that today's U.S. public education system is a system of competing interests, representing federal and state education departments, teacher unions, academia, curriculum publishers, education bureaucrats, and politicians. Imagine those interests as silos, each standing alone on its protected turf. As John Dewey imagined, this system has facilitated the insertion of revisionist socio-political philosophies into the material taught in our public schools. It enables the perpetuation of powerful interests in an archaic one-size-fits-all system, often referred to as the Prussian model. It has duped millions of parents into believing that it's infallible. It subjugates individualism to a government system under the guise of some fallacious socialization for the greater good. Check out the 2018 Handbook of the National Education Association at NEA.org, the largest of the teachers' unions. In the handbook, go to the legislative program and learn of the broad range of political concerns supported by the NEA. It reads like a handbook of liberal politics. You might ask, Tumbleweed, how do you really feel about U.S. education? Duh. Well, Tumbleweed does bring a little credibility to the subject. Being reasonably well qualified to assess U.S. education, having spent 3 years on a local school board in Pennsylvania, experiencing firsthand the depth of corruption, the inadequacy, the genuflecting to liberal agendas, and the utter lies about education quality. Tumbleweed spent 8 years as an adjunct college professor, dealing firsthand with the inadequately prepared products of those very public schools. Further, Tumbleweed and his wife were blessed to have spent 13 years homeschooling our two sons, avoiding the pitfalls of the local school system, and now are enjoying them excelling in the post-high school environment. Notably, we didn't fall for the bogus fear tactic that parents aren't capable of delivering quality education. And lastly, my experience as a businessman, having dealt firsthand with the outcomes of our failed, utterly inadequate education system. Well, this is his background. Tumbleweed's next video will examine the broken trust and the systemic fraud that we faced. Just saying.